Imagine this, you're standing on an ordinary street, holding your baby, thinking about dinner or the laundry waiting at home, when suddenly, in the blink of an eye, everything changes. You're seconds away from losing the most precious thing in your life. And then, a stranger appears, risking everything to save what you love most. Would you ever forget him? Stay with me until the end, because this is a story about fate, courage, and love, and I promise it will stay in your heart. And if you believe the world still has good people in it, please like this video and subscribe, so more stories like this can be shared with the world. It was a crisp autumn afternoon in the quiet little town of Maplewood. The leaves had begun to turn, painting the streets in shades of burnt orange and deep gold. Emily Carter stepped out of the small grocery store with a paper bag balanced in one arm, her 6-month-old son, James, cradled against her shoulder in his carrier. The day had been normal so far. She'd bought baby formula, some fresh bread, and a jar of strawberry jam, James's favorite to smear all over his little face when she made toast for him. She hummed softly as she crossed the parking lot toward her old, pale blue sedan. She opened the back door, set the groceries down, and carefully buckled James into his car seat. He cooed, kicking his tiny legs, and Emily smiled, leaning in to kiss his forehead. And then, the sound came. Screeching tires. The high-pitched scream of rubber tearing across asphalt. The low, gut-punch roar of an engine losing control. Emily's head snapped toward the noise. A pickup truck, swerving violently, was flying down the street. She saw the driver's glassy eyes, his slack mouth. Later, she'd learn he was intoxicated. In that moment, she only knew one thing: the truck was coming straight toward her car. Her breath caught in her throat. She froze. Somewhere deep inside, her instincts screamed to grab James, to run. But her body wouldn't move fast enough. There wasn't time. There was no way she could get to him before that truck reached them. And then, out of nowhere, someone appeared. A man. Tall, broad-shouldered, in a worn leather jacket and jeans. He seemed to come out of thin air, sprinting across the street with a speed that made everything else feel like slow motion. In one fluid motion, he yanked open the back door, unbuckled James, and scooped him into his arms. Without stopping, he dove sideways, curling his body around the baby just as. Crash! Metal crumpled. Glass exploded across the pavement. Emily's car shook with the impact. The smell of burning rubber filled the air. Emily's knees gave out. She gasped, searching desperately until she saw them, just a few feet away. The man was crouched low, shielding James with his own body. His arm was bleeding from shards of glass, but his grip on the baby was strong and steady. He looked up at her, breathing hard. "He's okay," the man said, his voice deep and certain. "He's safe." That man's name was Benjamin Hayes. Benjamin was a local mechanic. He had been delivering parts to a shop down the block and had been walking back to his truck when he noticed the danger. He didn't think, he just acted. Emily visited him at the hospital later that evening. His wrist was sprained, his arm stitched where glass had cut deep. She stood awkwardly at the foot of his bed. I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "You saved my baby. You saved my whole world." Benjamin gave a small, almost embarrassed smile. "You don't need to thank me. He's just a little guy. If I could stop you from losing him, I had to try." Something in Emily's heart shifted at those words. In the weeks that followed, she saw more of Benjamin. At first, it was just to drop off soup or ask if he needed help with errands while his wrist healed. But soon, she found herself staying longer. Listening to him talk about his life. He told her about growing up in Maplewood, about losing his parents when he was young, about raising his younger sister. He talked about his dream to one day open his own repair shop, not just to make money, but to give young apprentices in town a chance at learning a trade. Benjamin wasn't flashy. He wasn't trying to impress her. He was just real. And he had a quiet way of making her feel safe, not just physically, but deep down, in the part of her heart she'd been protecting for years. Emily had been alone since before James was born. His father had walked out when she was pregnant, leaving her to pick up the pieces on her own. She had promised herself she'd never rely on anyone again. But Benjamin didn't try to take over. He didn't push. He just showed up, consistently. When her washing machine broke, he fixed it. When James had a fever, he stopped by with medicine. When she came home late from work one evening, he was already there, sitting on the floor with James, reading him a picture book in a low, patient voice. Then came the night of the winter storm. Snow was falling in heavy, swirling sheets. The power went out across town, leaving Emily's house dark and cold. She wrapped James in 2 blankets and tried to keep him warm, but the chill seeped in fast. A knock at the door made her jump. It was Benjamin, holding a portable heater, a flashlight, and 2 thermoses of hot cocoa. "Thought you might need this," he said with a half-smile. That night, after James had fallen asleep, they sat in the flicker of candlelight. Emily looked at him for a long time before speaking. "You've been there for us in ways no one ever has." "Why?" Benjamin's eyes softened. "Because I care. About both of you. And I want to be here, for as long as you'll let me." Her walls began to crumble. Months passed. James's first word wasn't "Mama," it was "Ben." On warm afternoons, they walked through the park together, Benjamin pushing the stroller while Emily watched him, her chest tight with gratitude. On the anniversary of the day he saved James, Benjamin took them to the lake for a small picnic. The air was still, the water reflecting the late spring sun. After they finished eating, he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "I'm not good with speeches," he said quietly, "but I know this, I want to spend the rest of my life protecting you and James. Not because I have to, but because I can't imagine life without you." Tears blurred her vision. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. Their wedding was small, filled with family, neighbors, and the people who still remembered the day Benjamin became a hero. As Emily walked down the aisle holding James's little hand, she realized she wasn't just marrying a man, she was marrying the reason she still believed in good people. The man who saved her baby's life had become the love of her life. If you believe kindness can change lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel, because the world needs more stories like this.